Engineering. I welcome one and all to this online course webinar on recent trends in high performance computing. Our resource person, I welcome the resource person Velayudham Karani to this webinar. Without you, the webinar would not have happened, sir. So thank you very much and welcome to this and take over after the coordinator introduces you. And I welcome all the participants, the international participants, national participants, wired from Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Maharashtra, and other so many other states too. Some participants are there. I don't want to mention each and everyone individually and take your time. So I welcome one and all. Great participation. We have already at the time of starting itself, we have 213 participants for this webinar. Thank you all. Welcome one and all. Over to the coordinators, please.
Okay, good evening, one and all present here. I am Kamarajan, Assistant Professor, EC Department. It is my pleasure to introduce...
Louder, please.
Yeah, okay, thank you. It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Mr.
Audio stuck ஆயிடுச்சு காமராஜன் சார்.
South Africa. He worked with various companies like Micro India, HP, IBM, and currently he leads a professional services business at Lenovo Data Center, Bangalore. He is in expertise in the design and implementation of HPC technologies, IBM Smart Cloud, server technologies, and handling complex cases by collaborating with multiple technology team across the globe. Welcome you, sir. Now I hand over the session to Mr. Velayudham Karani to talk about the topic, HPC.
Thank you. Carry on, sir. Velayudham, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Before that, let me share the screen. Hope you can see the screen. Can you just confirm if you can see
it is correct, sir. It is clear.
Okay. Thank you.
Presentation slide is clear.
Dear participant, please pin Velayudham Karani is now presenting. Don't pin the speaking of speaker. You just pin the presentation Velayudham Karani. The name of Velayudham Karani. Please pin. Then only you can visible.
And others like Murugesan Marimuthu, please mute, sir. Mute yourself. And others, please mute. Continue, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, Kamaraj and Praveen for organizing this, and thanks everyone for joining this session. And I welcome everyone for the session. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. We see that it's a true global event, and thank you for joining on time. So today we're going to discuss about the session about high performance computing, HPC, and the recent trends around HPC. So just before taking into the latest trends, what is happening on the HPC, I just want to start with what is HPC computing. I'm going to talk about what are the different components in it, why HPC is required. Then we'll see what are the different trends, which are the areas and fields, use cases where HPC is utilized. And then I'll open up for case. And this is going to be a very high level, just a high opener session, and just to give overview of overall platform, what is HPC about, and what are the different use cases today in the industry. Few cases, and there are a lot of cases. I may not be covering everything. I'll just cover few cases and then open the floor for questions. Okay. So let me quickly go on to the slide, which is what is high performance computing. Most of you are from academic background. Be knowing what is computing. Basically what is computing. Computing is doing a mathematical calculation. Okay, so doing a mathematical calculation, or doing data manipulation, or doing graphical calculation or something. So that everyone is aware. You can use a laptop, or today's mobile also capable of doing a lot of computing. Then what is high performance computing? High performance computing is basically doing a large amount of computing which cannot be computed or performed using a single laptop or a workstation or a personal computer, which is called high performance computing. Okay, so let's say example of a small equation like this. Okay, so you see this equation is a portion of a bigger problem in a real world scenarios. So it carries multiple subroutines or functions it calls internally, and it carries the different data sets and calculates it. So can this be done by a normal laptop or desktop? Yes, it can be done. But how much time it will take? So each rotation should go through sequentially. You do it, and it takes longer time. How do you do that? How do you optimize it? Okay, that's where high performance computing comes in. How do you optimize this and run it at very less time? That's where you need high performance computing, right? So as a definition, industry definition, what is high performance computing? High performance computing generally refers to aggregating multiple systems computing power together and create a very large computing capacity which cannot be delivered by a single desktops or a workstation, and which is generally required, this high performance capacity generally required in science, academic, engineering, and today's world even large enterprise businesses require high performance computing to do the real world scenarios, so or simulate a lot of data and create a meaningful outcome of it. So that's called high performance computing. So what are the different components and building blocks inside the high performance computing? When you say the high performance computing is also called as supercomputing, many would have heard the word called supercomputer, and it's much more complex than simple desktops, and a task which can be done by a single desktop or workstation for days, months, and years can be executed in few minutes to hours in high performance computing. I think everyone can hear you. I think there is some.
Yeah. It's audible, sir. You just go ahead.
Okay, fine. So high performance computing, when I said that it's a one large computer, it's not a single system. It's a combination of multiple computers. It's a group of computers is called high performance computer. So each computer inside the HPC is called a node or a compute node or element or something, and each node will have multiple processors, like a laptop or desktop, you have one processor. In a HPC, each system will have a 2 processor or 4 processor or 8 processors, and multiple systems are combined together over a very high speed network. Especially it's called InfiniBand is one of the familiar network used in the HPC platform to create a very large network. Okay, so when we do that, why do you need such a high performance computing? What is the demand? What is the requirement for doing this high performance computing? Can't we do with the same single standard desktops? Yep, you can do it. There are a few things which needs a lot of effort, multiple data coming in terabytes and petabytes of data, which need to be compiled and executed in a shorter time frame to get a business outcome. Okay, so for that you need to do simulations and come out with this product quickly to get into the market and reach the market. So for example, you're in a very competitive industry, say today, even automobile, every industry is competitive today, right? So you need to come out with analyzing different data, user preference, different environment data, and then come out with a new product and technologies very quickly. It can be a car, it can be a simple chip packet or drinks, or it can be a mobile phone, whatever it is. So you need to come out with a new product, new technology, analyzing the different technologies available, data available, and you have to do that very quickly and simulate it and optimize the cost to create the product outcomes. So that is one of the area. Second is that there are areas where you need to do large amount of data in a shorter time. Say for example, earth prediction. Every day evening you would have seen news showing weather forecast for tomorrow or next 2-3 days. Earlier it used to be a weather forecast only for a next day. Nowadays you can see the weather forecast for next week. next 1 week or 2 week like that. So all these things has to be done in advance, and tomorrow forecast should come today, right? It cannot come day after tomorrow. So, and all those data, the petabytes of data generated by different satellites and seismic data, environmental sensors, everything to be analyzed before giving the prediction, right? It has to come on time. And you have a lot of other complex problems to solve. Like today you have a very big issue in the world, which is a COVID issue. So we need to analyze COVID virus. What are the different involved? What are the antibodies? Can become the part of the solution? And what are the different genomics which will affect the different behaviors of the COVID? Different countries are affected differently. What are the different parameters? Is it environmental parameter or genetics or a lot of other parameters to be decoded to create a meaningful drug for COVID? So that's again needs a lot of data, petabytes of data to be simulated to create a solution. Okay, so this is where the latest trends going towards HPCs, which needs a large amount of we call it as petaflops or floating point operation. You need petaflops of computing power to do these activities. So how do you do that? How do you achieve that? Okay, so when you have a single system, you do the execution in a single, one by one, serially you do it, execute code 1, code 2, code 3 like that. But when you have multiple systems, so you need to have a methodology. How do you parallelize? How do you take multiple data or multiple instruction parallelly into the system and execute it? Okay, so that is called parallel computing. So how do you do that? Okay, so for example, as you've seen in the small automation here, you have 4 data coming from 4 sources, different data. You need to do a sorting example. Okay, so you have 4 set of systems running on that, and it sorts the data, like all cubes into one bucket and all triangle into one bucket, something like that. So it's running in parallel. Assume if a single computer does the same thing, it has to do a time slice. You would understand the time division multiplexing, right? You do the division of the overall clock available, and you spend it individually time and then you execute it. It takes a time. It cannot happen in real time, right? So to do that real time, you need to have multiple systems executing multiple code and working on multiple data simultaneously, right? How do you do that? How do you parallelize it? Okay, so can all the code can be parallelized, or can all the application or can all the data can be parallelized? So take an example, like you have a set of code. Okay, so you have a serial code, you have a parallelizable code. So there are few instruction which you have to run in sequence. Like it can be dependent on the previous data. The result of the previous data is required for the next sequence. Those are all called sequential data. There are few data which can happen. Instruction can execute parallelly. So you can do that, manually, or there are systems to do that. You parallelize the sequence and then run it in the same single clock cycle. So that's where you reduce the overall clocking time, the execution time, and make the execution runs faster. So this is the example it shows here. You have a multiple control planes, and multiple processor system. You feed the data in parallel and take the data output and save it in the the shared data. So to give it a simple example, say there is a simple routine. You have a B array and C array. Multiply the data and save it in the A array, right? This is a one simple instruction, and you have a 2 data, input data and 1 output data, A array, B array and A array. You feed it to a simple execution engine. It takes one first data, then BF1, CF1, multiply and put it in AF1. This is a sequential data. It then goes to the second array, third data, fourth data, like that. How do you parallelize it? It depends on how the data or instruction. So here it is a single instruction, but you have a multiple data, hundreds of data. So what you can do, it depends on how many parallel nodes you have. Example, I have assume I have 2 CPUs. I can divide this complete code into 2. So 1 to 50 into one CPU and 51 to 100 into second CPU. Put the data and execute in parallel. You reduce the overall execution time by half. That's how you do the parallelism. So an example of how you do this parallelization. There are compilers, you all familiar with compilers. How do you do the coding, and then you do the compilation before execution? So there are libraries available to do this parallelization. You have a OpenMP and then MPI libraries to put into the compiler and do the compiling. The result gives how much parallelization you can do the code and execute on multiple nodes to get the output in a faster time frame. So what are the different ways of parallelizing that sequence? For that, the scientists come up with the 4 methodologies based on the program and the data available. So assume you have a program, single program or single data, or you have multiple program, multiple data. Based on that, there are 4 types of possible architecture, computer architecture. Okay.
Yeah, it's visible, sir. Just go ahead.
Is it okay? Okay, so I see a lot of current in the signal in the line. Okay, so the first one is called single instruction, single stream. That means you have a single instruction, single data. That means it has to go in sequence. You cannot parallelize it because it's a single instruction, single data. It has to go in sequence only. So this is not a parallel system, but it is a single instruction.
Sir, screen is not visible, sir.
Hello. No, please mute.
Excuse me, screen is not visible, sir.
Dear ma'am, please
your PPT is not visible, sir.
Ma'am, I am giving the instruction. Please ping Velayidham Karani. He is available in the presentation. You just go to the people, then find Velayidham Karani, then pin. Whatever maybe, please give an instruction in the chart. Please mute your audio.
Maybe they can change the layout to auto. So auto will show the presenter layout. Okay, so the next design of architecture is like you have a serial instruction or single instruction, then you have a multiple data. Say for example, a single instruction or program of addition. You have a single addition of data, instruction, but you have a multiple data. They say data A, B, C, D. So you do the addition of A and B, then B and D, D and C, like that. You have a multiple combinations. So you can give, you can divide the data into different sets and feed it to a different system and execute at the same time. That is one of the parallel computing. There is other parallel computing, like you have multiple instruction, but you have a same data. So example, you have multiple instruction, like you have addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, but you have the same data A and B. You need to multiply and you have to subtract, you have to multiply, divide, and see the difference of output, how it is behaving, or different parameters, like that. So for that, again, you give a different instruction to different computers, different codes, and then share the data and see the output. That is again a parallel computing. And the true parallel computing, or today's most of the parallel computing, is multiple instruction, multiple data. You have a multiple instructions operating on multiple data. So you say, for example, you have a 4 instruction, addition, multiplication, division, like that, and then you have a ABCD. The combinations available, 4 into 4, you have multiple combinations of execution. Parallel execution is possible. So instead of doing in a single thread, for each instruction going to different data, you can do everything in parallel. So the example given here is, say for example, a company with 1 lakh employees. So you want to do a month-end, salary calculation at the end, month-end, the last data. You have to do that calculation for 1 lakh staff. You have to do the staff, how many days they worked, the rate of their deduction, tax, and everything. It has to go in parallel, right? Instead of doing for 1 lakh people in parallel, you do data in parallel and instruction, get it to a parallel system and execute in parallel. It happens in quicker, short, minute. So how it happens, the architecture, what will be the different architecture, how you can parallelize this thing? So there are different architectures on the hardware level, it's available. So one is called shared memory or symmetric multiprocessing. You have a multiple CPU shared across shared memory. So the data is across the shared memory. Different CPUs access the memory and take its data and do the calculation and write the data back to it. This is one way, which is in a single system with multi-core or multiple threaded system. It's called symmetric or SMP architecture. To go beyond this, where you connect multiple net systems or a network, each system has its own, CPU, memory, or IO adapters and everything. then you connect it over a very high speed network, and this is with the latest high performance computing, where you have a multiple instruction, multiple data fed through a common network switch or a shared storage, where you can do multiple things in parallel. That's a true architecture. In the example, what you see here is 4-node HPC system, how it will look like. In a real world, what are the different components, how it is typically connected, how the user will connect. Let's see how it works. Like, this is how the real world scenario. You have a user, end user, at the top leftmost, you have a scientist, data scientist, or you have a mathematician or a research scientist connecting to a system through a login node. So login node is a set of nodes running in parallel, where you do all the pre-processing, where you define the mathematic formula, or you define the model which you want to define, or you define the genomics, what you want to decode. You define the problem. Basically, you define the problem and put it onto the cluster. And in the middle, you find a set of clusters. It's called a compute. This is called a high performance compute cluster, where the login node, after compiling the program, it schedules the job across the compute node. It executes all the data in parallel, takes the data from the storage in parallel through a high-speed computing network, then executes it and feed the data back to the user. Okay. And there are different types of compute node. You can see nodes with only the CPUs, or you can also see special nodes in the high performance computing. There are GPUs, graphic processing units. When you say graphic processing units, it's not only for graphics, it's also used for performing large mathematical fractional unit, calculations. There are a few nodes with high memory calculations. There are a few operations or few instructions needs higher memory, local memory. So there are different types of nodes which needs to be called for different applications in the HPC cluster. So let's come to the real world scenario. What are the different use cases of of the HPC cluster in today's trend? So one is the universe is analyzed. What do you mean by the universe is analyzed? You have a large universe. We have seen a lot of systems, colliders. You have a lot of hadron cameras, large focus cameras. You analyze the Milky Way, how the pattern is generated, what are the different planet motions and everything. So all these things is analyzed using high performance computing, because each and every satellite generates petabytes of data every hour. You need to simulate that and create a 3D model from the 2D image, and then create a 3D model to analyze and create a meaningful data out of it. Then medical research. Medical research is another big area where HPC is utilized, where you need to understand the current trends, what are the different bacteria and virus issues, and then how do you create a cure for it. And also, it also used in patient monitoring. How do you analyze a heartbeat? What is happening inside the heart? Where is the issue? How do you treat that particular patient? What is the best methodology to treat it? Is it invasive, or use a laser treatment, something like that? So you simulate that and give the right treatment to the patient. And then financial risk. How the market is doing, trend is happening. What is a particular market is behaving for a particular event. Today, a stock market, is how the trend is expected, based on historical performance of that, quarterly result announcement, or the environment. Say, for example, today COVID has crashed, largest market or world across the, the market across the world to crash. All this risk analysis can be done by simulating, different market scenario, political scenario, individual, corporate, or enterprise data, their financial statements, and then come out with a statement or a portfolio which is better for a different user cases. Then oil. Exploration is another area where you will find largest use of HPC. Companies like Shell, Aramco, all those people use, HPCs to simulate where to do the digging, how to explore the oil, all those things. The next area is explore, the nuclear explosion. and weather research, smart city planning, security, automatic, bill payments, utility payments, all those things are coming under. The new areas like blockchain, Bitcoin needs huge amount of computing powers. And then the areas like the car crash analysis, wind turbine, there are many areas, you can say n number of areas is HPC is utilized in today's scenarios, including the latest animated movies where the rendering happens on the HPC system, or hundreds and thousands of nodes are used to the real, real, creating the real images of the animated videos. So let's talk about some of the examples where the trends are going on, and what are the use cases, how HPC is being utilized. So coming into the engineering and manufacturing areas. So there are engineering. When you say engineering, what is engineering? So how do you engineer the solution? When it comes to engineering, you optimize the solution. You find a solution at a less cost, and then you optimize or engineer the solution in a better way to give the solution, which will be solving a problem and at a lower cost, and also you should be able to do it or replicate it in a multiple way. Like for example, production of component, manufacturing of a small component can be a automobile component, or it can be a mobile or a robotic system. How do you automate? How do you create a robotic system? So all those things are simulated using HPC, and then create an outcome and then put it into the system to do the automated task. Then weather prediction is another area where you do you get a data from lots and lots of states. So for example, India alone, you have hundreds of satellites. You get a satellite data from multiple satellites, and we also coordinate with multiple satellites across the world. We get a data from different areas. We get weather balloons. You get a satellite from seismic areas. You get data from the ships, and you also get a data from the earth environmental areas. Then you also get a sea floor data. You get a data from different areas. All those data should be simulated and create a model, weather model, and find the airflow and what is the speed of the air, what is the speed of the cloud, and understand how much time a cloud will take to move from one area to another area, and is there a possibility of rain deposit at a particular area. So all those things, or is there a possibility of happening thunder or lightning. So all those things are modeled using HPC, and each satellite or each water balloon or each sensor creates terabytes and petabytes of data every seconds, which is not possible to be analyzed by a single computer or a system. So, and again, each of the data to be analyzed in a different way. The data from satellite to be analyzed in a different way than a data from Earth's, Earth detector. So all those things, or seismic data, all those things to be put together and analyzed to come out with a meaningful pattern. You can see in the in the picture it's showing real time the movement of the clouds. How do you create this simulation and then come out with a prediction for each of the countries or each of the geos, how or when you will get a waterfall the rainfall? It has to happen in real time and at a faster rate. For that, you need HPC. And then the next interesting area is automobile simulation. Assume a company A is creating a new automobile design. Then it has to go through a lot of simulations and tests. One of that is called crash test simulation. Assume a company creates a model, create all the complete car, and then goes a real test and goes and hits a solid wall. What happens? A complete car get damaged. Then it is taken into the research center. You analyze it. What are the different logics? Why the airbag did not open on time? Why this crash happened like this or not like this? You analyze the different physics of the each and every areas. How the brake would have applied, why brake did not apply, why what will be the impact on the passenger, and what is the impact on the passenger of a different weight, passenger with a different BMC, like say 50 kg or 100 kg passenger sitting on the seat at a particular speed, what will be his motion and what will be the the airbags comes and whether it saves the passenger or not. So all those thing analysis, if you do in real time, how much time it will take. You need a human, you need the physical system, and you go and crash it, and then you remodel and then go and crash it again. How much time is required to create a each model every time? Now you have a high speed HP systems available to simulate the complete system in the system. You don't need to do that in the real world. You created a model of this car, make a little changes, change the aerodynamics of the system, or modify the physical properties of the system, or thickness of the material used in the bonnet or the engine or the brake system, and then test whether the crash test is successful and the impact to the passenger is less, or the safety test and everything, and then do multiple changes and find which is giving the better results, and with a better optimal cost and everything, design and everything, then go for a real production, right? So this is where the simple flow, how the CAE is computer aided engineering, the workflow happens. So you create a model first. It's called finite element model, or there are different models in creating simulation. So, or it's called pre-processing stage. In the pre-processing stage, you create a model of the car. You create a model of the system. On, for example, if you're designing Airbus system, you create a model of the Airbus, and you give physical properties of each and everything. You have a different glass materials, you have different air nose, then you have a different tire pressure, you have a side wings and doors, and you give a different properties. You model or divide the complete body into a small piece and give a different parameters to it, and then define it. It's called you create a mesh and then put it onto the system, then simulate it on the system. It will run different mathematical simulations. It's a huge simulations. Then it comes out with a model, like you see in the third stage is a post-processing. You create 3D visualization. That's where it involves many graphical processing, and you get a 3D visualization for the normal human to understand what is the impact of the simulation. And then the data scientist or the mechanist go and do a changes and then do a next simulation. So this is how you do the real world simulation and come to the faster model. Then the next area is like a oil discovery. So oil discovery is very, very important, because there is if you see any largest economies, the largest economies are measured based on their oil stock, or how much oil they procure. So oil is very important commodity today. So the countries which were exploring or exploring the oil uses HPC to discover which is the right place to put the well. The reason for that is each well costs few billion, millions to $1 billion. You cannot simply, it's not like a simple water bore, right? You go just behind your house and put the water door, which is like spend 1 lakh, 2 lakh rupees, and put the water. Oh, there is no water. Okay, then go under few feet away and then put another bore. You cannot do like that in oil discovery, because each well needs a lot of plan, and it needs a lot of investments and time. And once you put that well, it has to survive for a couple of years. And so you need to do a lot of research, model the earth completely based on the soil bed, what is the deposits available. The scientists will send a lot of ground waves and create the the 3D image of complete earth beneath, and then see how much of the oil deposit available underneath, and then decide is it the right place. Then they will also simulate what is the right well or right motor capacity, or the size of the tubes to be put inside, how much depth they have to go, so that they can maximize the output for a longer period. So all those data, the ground data, seismic data, the historic data, everything to be analyzed, visualized, to create the right point to create to do the oil exploration. Okay, so next major area is the medical research, where even today's scenario, that's why we are all on a virtual system. Otherwise, we would have been sitting in the colleges and attending these sessions. Is because of the COVID. So multiple universities across the globe is today involved in finding the cure or vaccine for a COVID coronavirus. And everybody, or by knowing or unknowing, everybody is creating lots and lots of data to simulate the genomics of the virus, and what are the different proteins inside the virus, which causes different effect for different antibodies, simulate it and create different models, and then feed into the different medicines, or which chemical or reaction will create an antibody for that. For any drug discovery involves a minimum, say, somewhere between 10,000 to 20,000 results. From there again you simulate and find out which is good, which is not good, keep removing, and then finally come out with 2 or 3 samples, and then do a final trial. That is a phase 1. So the phase 1, you analyze the different parameters of the issue which is caused by the virus or bacteria. Then you analyze the different properties of the medicines or the materials available, and create the reactions. That is a phase 2, and find out what will be the best methodology, and then create a formula to create a drug, and then see each drug how it will impact on different people in different geographies. That is also important. Otherwise, the countries or the medical authorities in different countries will not approve the medicines. So you need to do that simulation as well, and do that simulation, and then go for different trials, animal trial or human trial and all those things. So which requires lots and lots of data, molecular analysis. You need to do the bioinformatics, mathematical formula of different things, and then do a computational treatment, quantum calculation of how different molecules behave with the different proteins, and then create a drug discovery. That is one of the major area where HPC used in medical research. On healthcare, healthcare is another area where nowadays all major or larger hospitals and universities across the world uses HPC to real-time monitor humans or patients' heart, how it is behaving in different scenarios, or what is the exact place. You model the complete body in a 3D and see the different behaviors, and see what is the best option or best medicine or best methodology to give the treatment to a patient. Okay. And same thing for human brain modeling. So you do the human brain modeling by taking multiple X-rays or the CD images of 2D images, combine it and create a 3D model, and understand how the brain behaves for different signals. Say, for example, a sound signal comes, how the body behaves. A light signal comes, how the human brain signals. So you simulate the brain model in the system for each different signals, and then by what you think on the brain, you can dictate a robot to do that. So brain to robot imaging is possible using HPC, right? So then next is another simulation is on nuclear physics experiments, or Collider. It's also called Collider. There is another called giant experiment, where a lot of people across the research or universities analyzing how the earth is created, right? So different people are saying different hypothesis. People are saying it's created by a large collision happened in the space, then the earth is formed. And so there are different hypotheses. How do you solve that? Different scientists are trying to solve it in different models. So one of the model used is in Europe is a Larger Hadron Collider, which is a 27-kilometer large a ring created underneath the earth in the Europe. And the highly charged particles, proton particles, are traveling inside, or created inside the tube, and made to collide each other, and then they analyzed the behavior. So what are the behaviors happens when highly charged particles collide each other? Is it possible to analyze such a large high-speed collision using a standard system or single system? No way, because a 27-kilometer path, it travels across a 27 kilometers path. You need to understand the different dynamics, kinetic speed, and impact and molecular dynamics, and how it behaves in different speeds, and with collides, what are the outcomes, how much energy is created, and how the proton behavior behaves. All those things it creates, and there are sensors at every the 27 kilometers, every few distance, few meters to few centimeters, there are different sensors. Each sensors create gigabytes to terabytes of data at every fraction of second. All those data to be simulated to create this three-dimensional impact and analyze how the behavior of the collision happens. For that, you need a high capacity, high power systems, right? So not only from there, from all this research and science goes into our day-to-day life. How do you increase the productivity of a crop, say a rice or a tomato or any vegetables? So for that, again, scientists across the agriculture research, they also use a supercomputer to analyze different behaviors of different seeds. Say, for example, rice variety 1 and rice variety 2, it grows in 30 days, grows in 60 days. What are the different parameters? What are the impacts of these medicinal properties or the different nutrients? How do you analyze the different genetic model of each and every seeds and create a seed which can be grown faster and grown with a huge quantity, so that you can serve for larger community at a shorter span, and a shorter area. How can you grow a larger or a large output? All those things are analyzed in agriculture area using HPC systems. It's not just you analyze seed genetics. You have to analyze a different area. The seed which is grown or analyzed for say region 1 may not be applicable for region 2. It has to be analyzed in a different region. The same seed can behave in different area, like mountain area, hill area, like you have a seabed. So how do you modify the genetics of each of the seed, or what is the best crop to be put in different areas or different seasons or different political areas? All those things are simulated in the HPC and come out with the best possible seeds and best possible outcomes or recommendations for the agricultural production effectiveness. Okay, so we have seen so many examples so far. Hello, am I audible?
Yeah. Just
so we have seen so many examples, starting from engineering, geospatial, then medical, or engineering automation, or agriculture production, right? So with all these things, like from engineering, from cross simulation, all those things, what you find here is what you need is you need to come out with more faster solution which will solve the humanity's problem. For that, you need a very high speed systems which can run parallelly, working on multiple instruction, multiple data. For that, you need HPC systems, and the main goal of the system is a speed, right? You need a speed which will give the result at a higher speed, so that we can go and solve the problems at a faster speed. So that's where I'm just closing the session of HPC, where we are today, and I just gave some examples where HPC is used. It's only tip of the iceberg. A lot of other areas HPC used, starting from say everyone has a mobile today. Even you use HP. Everyone is a user of HPC today. Everyone uses WhatsApp or Facebook or mobile. Everyone generates petabytes of a few bytes to few gigabytes of data, which is all analyzed in the back end by a large set of computers at Google or Facebook. It's all again a large set of thousands of computers in the back, which is again huge high performance computing, right? So yeah, I'm closing here. Any questions at this stage?
Thank you, sir. Thank you for nice presentation. Dear participants, if you have any questions, please post in the chat box. So one question from Soma Ajay. It is called a cloud.
Sorry, can you repeat?
This is called cloud.
Sorry, sir, it's breaking.
Praveen, full question time எடுத்துட்டு பண்ணுங்க. சரியா கேக்கல.
The question was.
It is called as a.
It is. Are you calling by cloud?
Sorry, I'm still not here. I heard the cloud.
Yeah.
Are you saying? So you're saying cloud? Can we run the cloud HPC on cloud? Is it the question?
Yes, that is the question.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, so yeah, so there are trends about creating high performance computing on a cloud. Yes, you can do that, but the objective of the HPC, that's what we closed. Objective of the HPC is speed. So when you say cloud, cloud, when you say the public cloud like Amazon or Google Cloud, you know that it is not dedicated for a particular purpose. It is shared across multiple users, multiple things, and the performance is not guaranteed to a certain extent. Like you may get a share of a physical core. You get a virtual core in the cloud environment. You don't get a complete core, and yeah, so you can say HPC, instead of saying HPC, you can say high throughput compute. High throughput computing, you can say that you can run larger system. It is still not on, but even today there are a lot of projects running to execute on cloud, but they are not 100% successful. It again depends on what application, how much data, what is the throughput, and it depends on, again, because you need to transfer a lot of data in real time to the cloud system, execute it and take it back. And again, there are bottlenecks in between the throughput, and then you take it back and all those things. So there are limitations. Again, depends on the application and the data from where it resides and all those things. Based on that, you may look at cloud for running HPC, but still large HPC clouds are still run on-prem systems.
Another question from Arun Kumar.
Yep.
Yeah, any simulation tool for Explore HPC?
What was the question? Explore
any simulation tool for Explore HPC?
Right.
High performance computer.
Okay. You want to simulate HPC? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can simulate it. So basically, HPC is like you need to create. You want to simulate it to your office or college. That means you can set it up. So there are a lot of open source tools are available. So you have open source application operating system. You have open source compilers, parallel system. You have a cluster managers or open source cluster managers are available. Slum or something like that, XCAT or something like that. You can set it up. You need a proper planning, and then you can create and and set up a HPC cluster. So basically, when it comes to HPC, the main thing is the performance. So when you say performance and speed, the cluster has to be tuned properly and to give the expected performance, and it has to be planned, like what CPU you are using, what application you are using, is it a parallel application, and which network you are using, which storage you are using, because it has to be parallel. Everything has to work in parallel, right? The data has to be communicated across the network in parallel. The storage should support a parallel file system. You should have a parallel file system. So if there are a lot of open source packages and open source systems are available, and you can use that, and you can create systems in your office or home or college. You can do that, or on a single node or a couple of nodes, starting from 2 node or 4 node. You can do that. Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Another question from Prabha Bala. Please tell about data center energy consumption prediction using high performance computing. It is related to data center energy consumption.
Yes. Okay, so when it comes to HPC, yes, obviously the major cost involved in running the HPC is the power. Yeah, so it's a very nice question actually. So the major challenge in running a lot of HPCs today, or the larger HPCs today, is the power consumption. Okay, power consumption is again to cool the system, because HPCs generate lots and lots of heat, and it requires lots and lots of power. There was an analysis saying the amount of the HPC system used to do the blockchain, the Bitcoin, is equal to the power used to run the complete Ireland country. Then you can just think of how much power is generated in a single data center, which is running a blockchain. So there are different tools and methods available to simulate HPC, simulation, how much power is required, and how do you simulate the power. What are the different methods you can use it. There are the methods starting from air cool. The standard system used is air cool systems. Then when it comes to high performance computing, the processor cores running at 200 250 watts each core, you use a water cool system. So water goes inside your computer, inside to your processor, memory, IO system. You use air cool system on low or small number of clusters. We use water cool system clusters, which is running thousands of nodes. The latest systems which we deployed are having like 12,000 nodes. 12,000 nodes from a single cluster, which is completely cooled by water. Right. So using this water cool system, you reduce the power consumption by almost half. The power used to run the computer is equal to the power used to run the cooling systems. Earlier it was double. We reduce the cost by 2. And then there is also there are a lot of research going on around how do you do energy aware scheduling. Like there are few systems require a few codes to run at full clock speed. There are few programs require low clock speed. So the scheduler, which is scheduling the task across multiple nodes, will also instruct the computer to run at which clock speed. So there are multiple research going around energy systems.
One more questions.
Yep.
Do we simulate in laboratory?
Sorry, can we use HPC in laboratories?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. HPC started in laboratories. Maybe I would say like so started the engineering. The HPC started like 100 years back. So basically to simulate mathematical simulation of chemical behaviors. So you can use it in laboratories as well. It's used in multiple laboratories. Major HPC or larger HPC installations across India is installed in universities.
One more question.
Okay. So,
list out the open source tool.
Sorry?
List out the open source tool.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, okay. So HPC evolved in open source community basically. So starting from operating system, a lot of open source operating system available like Ubuntu or CentOS, something like that. You have a cluster manager, which is basically manages multiple cluster and schedule make it as a single cluster. You have scheduler like XCAT or Bright Cluster Manager. A lot of open source things are available. Okay, platform computing, open source foundations are available. Then you have libraries are available. MPI, MPIs, a lot of open MPIs are available for GCC compiler. Then you have so these are the things that are available. Intel made the code available. Open libraries are available for parallelizing your applications. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Good, sir.
You have a lot of tools available for each and every stack of HPC cluster. Yep. Again, you need to decide what is it depends on the application. So what application you're going to use? You're going to use weather modeling or automobile, or depends on things. So mostly for automobile, they use commercial tools like ANSYS or those kind of tools. They use IBM LSF or those kind of tools or platform schedulers. So depends on purely depends on your application, and we can use different open source tools for setting up the HPC. Yep. Sorry. Hello.
Hello. Yes, I'm here.
How to install HPC in an institution? Well, sir.
Oh yes, sir. I'm not getting the question, sir.
How to install the HPC in an institution like a college or maybe school or university?
The question is, how do you install it in an institution, or what are required?
Like
Sorry, voice is breaking. No, HPC. Okay, so I'll explain. So when it comes to HPC and institution, yes, HPC can be deployed in an institution where you have multiple researchers and students. You want to share a large cluster data. So HPC comes with a scheduler, and which can take a data input from multiple students or research research scholars, and then you can schedule the task. So based on the available compute capacity and based on the job, so for example, user A gives a job which can run on 100 cores, and a user B gives a job on 20 core or 10 core. So based on the resource, the resource availability, you have thousands of core in your cluster. The scheduler decides and prioritize based on the priority, decides and schedules the jobs on different cores based on the availability, and also notifies the user when the job is computed. So it can be used in institution, and the automatic scheduling available in the HPC will help the institution to use and share the resources across multiple multiple researchers, or there are multiple educational clusters are available, open clusters are available, where even students can go on public and then submit their jobs. There are multiple clusters across Europe. They call educational clusters for HPC users. It's available. All the students across the universities can go and submit the jobs on those kind of clusters. And you can even set up or you can even set up a cross-industry institution cluster, or within the industry for your own students, you can set up a cluster.
So one more question from Somo.
Yep.
HP is hackable or not?
HP?
Is hackable?
Hacking is
Yes.
Hacking is possible in HPC.
Yes. Okay. I got it. So yeah, it is. Again, depends on the security framework. I think I should go back to the presentation. Okay. So if you look at, I'm not sure whether you are seeing my presentation.
Yeah, it's visible, sir. It's visible. Just go to the presentation.
I think it's stopped presenting. I'll resume the presentation. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going back to the system, the slide, the HPC cluster. So here, if you look at, you have the users or the hackers possibility to come from your PC to the login nodes. But the data computation and everything, or the HPC cluster is running in the backend network. You can see the green line where the network is completely private network, and the data is going through the blue line, which is again data network, high-speed data network, which is all private. Generally, any institution or any industry do not expose this area where you have all the sensitive data and everything. The users comes from here, will log into the compute node. You will have securities like user authentication, two-factor authentication, something like that. You have all those authentication set up in the login node. Only if it is authenticated, then the user will be able to submit the jobs. So it's up to how the user is compromising this login nodes, right? But the data and everything is again on a private network generally, and it is not possible to hack inside. Okay.
Awesome.
One more
Is
question.
there any other question?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
How HPC different from multi-cloud?
How
HPC different?
Yes, understand. So when you say multi-cloud or multi-tiered, I think you're talking about multi-cloud. Say for example, you have a job or an enterprise running on multi-cloud. So you will have some applications running on say Cloud 1 Azure, and the Cloud 2 you have a Google Cloud or Amazon Cloud. So you run data on multiple cloud, and all these clouds are connected over a standard Ethernet network. depend on multiple other parameters like data throughput between one cloud to another cloud, and then you have throughput, and then you also have a date. The performance is not guaranteed on a cloud. Performance guarantee is limited to certain SLAs again. But HPC is completely a performance oriented solution. Okay, cloud is again, you can call it as HPC, but it is defined for a different use cases. It's a shared use by multiple is a shared resource for high speed computing, right? The throughput is very high. It can be again utilized like as I mentioned earlier. You have a cluster of different universities, and then a researcher from one university can connect to another university and run the job internally. So again, the job is the methodology how you run it is completely different. So cloud is again restricted to certain workloads, certain type of scale out workload. You can say scale out workload like web application or mobile applications or analytics or a small or mobile applications, something like that. But HPC is to analyze terabytes and petabytes of data at a shorter time frame. Right? You need a dedicated computing capacity and you need a high throughput. That is the difference. You cannot keep different HPC in one area, like one in Chennai and one in Mumbai or one in Delhi, and run one single job across different sites. You can do that, but obviously the objective of meeting the high throughput will be spoiled by the network bandwidth limitations. Okay.
Hello. Sir, one more question.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Is HPC expensive?
Sorry?
And HPC is expensive. Is HPC is expensive? It will be come soon to use. When it will be come soon to use?
Okay, right. Okay, HPC is yeah. So it's yes or no. I would say, like, you can say. So what are you comparing with? If you're comparing with cloud or you're comparing with a single node, obviously when you compare with a single node running one job on a single node, you're running a multiple nodes. You need a dedicated high-speed network. You have parallel file system, storage, and everything, and you have dedicated resource administrator, and a lot of things are required when you set up a HPC. So that is, say, X cost. If you're running the same thing on a simple system, so or a single node or a small one or two node or a workstation with four socket system, which may be cheaper, but you have to look at multiple other parameters and economics. Like you run the same job on a single node for 1 year, or you run the same job on HPC for 1 minute, which is best. You save the cost initial investment, but the data scientist or the engineer, or the mathematician model or the researcher, medical researcher, has to work 1 year or 1 month on this particular system, looking at the outcome, and you see the cost of this manpower and the result. What is the outcome? If you create a result or the drug for COVID after 5 years, what will happen? Or if you create it today, say for example, a company X comes with the coronavirus drug today, he will be the next billionaire, right? So the cost of the system depends on what you are comparing, and obviously it's expensive compared to the single system. But if you compare with the olden days, like say 10 years back or 20 years back, setting up a HPC is a dream. But now setting up a HPC is very easy because it can be set up using a commodity systems, standard Intel or ARM processor or AMD processor, or even a powerful IBM power processors. You can use a system, Intel standard system, 2-socket or single socket system, connect multiple system over a network. It can be even a simple 1G network or 10G network, or it can be high-speed Ethernet InfiniBand network, which is today running at 200 Gbps clock speed. Okay, so it depends on what throughput, how much capacity you want to run, and then the cost and the problem which you want to solve. So answer is yes or no. It's a cheaper or it's expensive compared to the date or compared to the different system. It is cheaper today. So a lot of systems are available easily. Even a lot of public clouds, public HPCs are available for researchers. You can go and try and test how it is. Is it helpful for you? Yep.
So one more
Praveen, can we stop presentation? Or,
Okay, sir.
I think
this,
Kamaraj sir are having a last question, sir. Maybe we will line up the
Okay.
last question.
Okay. That will be the
Okay,
last
sir.
question. This question will be the last question.
Well,
Please.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Well, answer one question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Tell me.
Can we able to use antenna transmission of data?
Can we use
able to antenna to transmission of data?
antenna to transmission of data? Yes, obviously antenna is used for transmitting data one way or two way. But what data and what speed? It again depends. And which antenna you're using. You cannot use a standard Yagi antenna. You can use a dish antenna for satellite communication, or you can use there are different antennas, right? You have mobile towers. Mobile tower is also an antenna. So what data you are talking about?
Okay, sir. Sir, I have one personal question.
Yes, sir.
Praveen Kumar, I have one personal question. You talked about the satellite system, data collection from the satellite system, and the data
Yes, sir.
transmission to the satellite system and everything. In India,
Correct, sir.
how bad we are? Either we have reached the maximum technology in HPC regarding the data collection of satellite system and everything, or where we are. As an industry point of view, can you give some ideas or some thoughts?
Okay. A good question, sir. But yeah, so in India, so if you look at HPC journey in India, majorly India again HPC it is used in major large institutions like IIScs and the larger medical research institutions and automobile companies, right? But if you look at the capacity or the size of the HPC systems, compare with our peers across China or US, we are nowhere actually. I would say we are nowhere. Okay, so we still run our largest cluster somewhere around few petaflops. The capacity of the HPC is referred in petaflops. Okay, so we are still running at 1.3 petaflop or 2 petaflop or 3 petaflop is the maximum which we are having in India as of today. But if you compare the other side of the world, like US and China, and US is the leading in HPC capacity today, and China is just behind that, and US have crossed like 100 and few hundred petaflops. They are all talking about exascale. They are going from petaflops to exaflops. Right, we are way behind in that perspective. But if you look at the resource perspective, so we have majority of the HPC resource or implementation skills. We have too much skills from India. You look at any large cluster deployments across the world, you would find many Indians in the implementation or solution designs.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you
Okay,
so much.
sir. Praveen, it is 5:10.
Okay, so we will.
It is our time. The participants also started leaving. Still, we have 100 plus participants.
Yeah. Okay, so we will start. Yeah, fine.
I think we can start. Sir, it is a very, very nice presentation. This is not only from my side. It is from very many number of participants have given the compliments.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Something like Kavya Kavi has said, I have ever seen such a perfect presentation like this. This is Kavya Kavi.
Okay, sir.
Sir, please share. I mean, nice presentation, Pali, and nice session, Christo, Melvin, and somebody said Somo Ajit. Such a high power knowledge PPT. I don't know exactly. Yes, put some.
So I just try to make it very high level only.
No,
So,
I think
yeah.
we got what he was actually willing to say in a very short one line. So again, Prabha Taran has given nice presentation, very informative. So it goes like that, sir, and everybody has. More than 50% of the participants, that is nearly 150 participants, have asked this PPT for this thing. That is the compliment, true compliment for your knowledge-backed presentation, as one of the participants said. Thank you very much, sir. We will again meet in some other session.
Sure, sir. I will share it across with Mr.
Your time and other things. We will acknowledge your effort a little later through certificate and other things. And over to the coordinators for proposing vote of thanks to the participants and the resources. Please, Praveen, Kamarajan, take it.
Okay, sir. Take care. Okay. Good evening, one and all here. On behalf of Ishwari Engineering College, Department of ECE, I would like to propose vote of thanks for each and everyone for making this webinar very successful one. First of all, I would like to thank our management, beloved principal, always motivating us to conduct such kind of events. I would like to express our deep gratitude to the today's speaker and Mr. Velayudham Karani for this very excellent presentation about HPC and make this webinar very interesting with a lot of examples and animated and informative way. Thank you so much, sir. And happy to thank our beloved HOD, Dr. Devaraju, for his guidance and his moral support. Finally, I would like to say the special thanks to Mr. Praveen Kumar, coordinator of this program. And thank you all our faculty members and the participants, faculty and students from all over India and abroad who have made this webinar grand success. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all.
Thank you,
participants.
thank you for giving this opportunity.
Close this session, sir. Participants, you can start leaving the meet. 100 more plus participants are there. Please stop. Gradually leave the meeting.
Velayudham sir, thank you so much, sir.
Sir, Velayudham Karani, sir, thank you very much, sir.
And,
Personally,
animated presentation was very wonderful.
very nice, and that is this evening presentation. Generally, many people were from India only, except you and some other participants from abroad. So this evening time we could see till the 5:40 when we started the question session. 250 participants were there intact.
Wow, great, sir, great, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Nice presentation, sir. Thank you.
Only people have started leaving. That's all. Still 55 participants are there. Please, participants, you can leave. Thank you, sir. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, comrades and Praveen, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We have
Thank
to
you.
thank you, sir.
I leave now. Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Actually, sir. Hello. Actually, sir.
Praveen,
Sir. Stop. One second.
stop.